That's a good question. All of those light displays were paid for by somebody else and donated to the park system. And so I guess that they would be owned by the park, but the city gave it to the organization that has it. The city doesn't own it. So I guess that it's.
Money towards it.
I'm sorry, ma'am?
But did the city put money towards it?
We put money, that's a good question. The city put money to move it because we were told to move it. So we
Like
didn't.
in purchasing it or building it or putting it up?
No, I think, if I remember right, it was a youth group of First Baptist Church in Ozark that bought that. But they donated it to the light display, which was Christmas Lights of Ozark. And so it was property of the park department.
So the park department runs the light display then?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
They do now.
Clarify on
But now this is, well, we don't know because we haven't had a Christmas since it's been moved. But they indicated to us that they would be turning it on during the Christmas light display. They pay for the electricity, we don't.
But isn't the park department a part of the city?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, then it's part of the government.
Yes.
So constitutional.
Oh, well, but I don't understand what you're associating across now with the Parks Department, because we don't own it, it's not
Their
on.
ownership.
What, ma'am?
Their
But it's
ownership.
not in the park anymore.
It's not in the park, and we gave it to the people that have it.
that. So now it's owned by the.
I'm not arguing with you, I'm trying to
Oh,
understand the
no, I
question.
know.
We do not, the city does not own the cross. They did. And when we had to move it, we gave it to the people that took it. And it's on their property, and they own the cross. They paid for, in fact, they did pay for the electricity, because they lit it for about a week after it was moved, and it was in the middle of January.
So there was a transfer of ownership even when you moved it?
Yes,
All right, so it's completely gone from your hands now.
it is gone from our
So
hands.
even though the government chose to move it, didn't choose, but moved it there,
We
and now
moved
there's
it
ownership.
at our expense, because we had to move it.
But then they bought it off you, so it's theirs.
No, they didn't pay for it, it was donated.
Donated, yeah. So it's theirs now, so it.
Maybe it was $1. I don't know what the document
Just so you
was,
can have the
but it was a
official-
transfer.
Okay, it was a clean transfer then. Okay.
Does anyone know if there is a medal in the military that has a cross on it? Because I think there is.
Cross of valor.
It is the medal, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I know that that was on there, but I didn't know for sure if that was like
I didn't either. I
the
didn't know
medal.
either.
So would we would all agree then that that's not necessarily
Let's do show of hands.
religious?
Show of hands, or constitutional to have a valor medal that is in the shape of a cross for military service. Show of hands, unconstitutional. Okay, kind of. What's that?
What's the symbol? Give me a second.
A cross, I guess.
It's a star. It's a star. It's a star.
So they used a cross instead of a star.
So
on the
it'll
medal.
be a.
Well, I was in the military, but I never heard one, so I can't tell you what it
I
was
feel like
like.
I need to do some more independent research.
Yeah, for sure.
Stars.
Certain stars.
Star.
It's
a 5. It's a 5.
Why do you
Six one is
why do you
star.
look at me and ask about?
Why would I look at my instructor who
Yeah.
knows what I went to school for?
Fair enough. Oh, sure. So after this experience, now that we're kind of at the finish line of it, if you could have done anything differently, is there anything you would have done differently?
No, I don't really think so. I think the city did the right thing. We clearly needed to move it. I don't think anybody realized what we were doing. Or if they did, they didn't want to. I mean, it was just kind of like a non-issue until it was brought up, and we took care of it. And so, no, I wouldn't do anything differently.
Well, let's go back to something that the speaker said on Facebook. Once again, this is when the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Maryland World War I Memorial Cross. He said, today marks, and there's Rick Gardner being tagged right there. Today marks a major win for religious freedom as the Supreme Court ruled the Peace Cross can continue to stand on public land. Justice Alito writes that thing that I read to you a moment ago. As many of you know, this issue is not isolated to Maryland. We have one right here in Southwest Missouri. The community of Ozark is under fire from far-left liberal groups who want to remove the cross from the Christmas lights drive-through at Finley River. 6 months ago, I stood with the community of Ozark and made the case that there is long-standing precedent to uphold our First Amendment freedoms and leave the cross standing. Today's ruling further punctuates this precedent. So, he calls you. You get flack from freedom from religion people. He calls you and he says, there is now precedent. We now know that the government stands up, the courts regularly stand up for like cultural crosses. And he says, what do you need? You don't regret taking him up on the offer for saying, let's fight this thing?
You know, I really don't, because we felt that there was a better solution. We just didn't know what it was at the time, and we knew we had some time, because we weren't gonna take it down right in the middle of Christmas drive. And it turned out just fine. But we could have left that up, I suspect, if we had invited every other religion on the face of the earth to put up their symbol, and we didn't want to do that.
One last question.
Sure, that's right.
So the cross, it stays up year round, correct? It's just not lit?
Yes, ma'am, and you would not know it's there unless it's lit. I mean,
So it's just
see
like
it.
a wire frame, right? Do you think it would have been, if anyone would have brought it up, if it was taken down and just brought up for Christmas, not just lit, and taken down completely? Do you think
Oh, I
there
think
would have
that's
been?
on city property in El Petty, pardon my French. Yeah, we'd heard lots about it.
Yeah,
We needed to take it off city controlled property.
yeah, I kind of meant previously, before anyone brought it up. Do you think it would have been a problem if it's just up there for the lights show?
The thing was,
I think it would
the
have
thing was
been
20
noticed.
feet tall.
Okay.
The other displays are, they're wire frames like you see in people's yards, but they're much larger, and they can be taken down and stored. But this thing is, it's about 20 feet tall, and the framework is about 6 inches square. It's a metal frame.
It was difficult to take down.
Yeah. And we had to get a lift truck to pull it up off the pole.
Do you think both parties came out happy out of the deal?
You know, I don't know. We came out happy. I don't know that the Freedom from Religion Foundation did, but I don't want to think that they didn't, because
They got what they wanted.
they got what they wanted, and you got to give them credit. They were right, okay? But and we did what they wanted, and I mean, we don't know that they're a satanic organization. That's nuts. You know, that they could be, you know, they could be rock solid, whatever, Southern Baptists, you know, but they were right. It was a constitutional issue, and we knew it. So they've got to feel good. Now, is it a little ironic that it's a lot more visible now? Yeah.
Last question for me. Do you think that the cross, had it been there for a century or more, such as these crosses would have been able to stay?
Oh, gosh, I'm gonna ask you that when you get out of law school.
I'll be ready.
I don't know. I mean, it's been there 20 years, but that wasn't enough. And it was clearly put up as a Christian symbol.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't a peace cross or an artifact from 9/11. It was the cross of Christ.
So it's a little more black and white in this
Oh,
case.
we thought it was black and white.
I'm just going to take a wild stab here. Is there any chance, because you said freedom from religion people were in Ozark, or at least the person that flagged it?
There apparently is a member of that organization that lives in Ozark.
Is that
Turned us
member,
in.
is that member here? Do we have anybody Freedom from Religious Caucus? I'm giving you an opportunity to have the floor. Because again, the thing I can't wrap my head around is having an issue with the cross, sure. But there's, like I said, a baby Jesus. Like, I don't understand why that wasn't flagged. And like, I know you're sitting here and you're saying over and over again, and I completely believe you, that while a lover of the cross you may be, you recognize its constitutional problematicness. Do you not see the same problems with the manger scene?
Not as much, but I would defer to the Supreme Court because they don't.
Yeah, the Supreme Court's ruled over and over again that nativity scenes are okay, correct?
I have not looked into that. Have you checked it out?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
and
been
you-
a couple. There's been a couple of cases. I don't know if they all went to Supreme Court where nativity scenes outside of public, because they're always in front of government buildings. And in Branson, there's a huge one on the, so I think that's on private property.
Right.
But I'm not sure how that works.
I got good news for
Is it
you. I got good news for you, Rick. We got better than the Supreme Court in here. We got about 100 people willing to vote. So let's do another vote. Because it's on it's on public property, right? It's not on like the private property that's next to the, I'm talking about the nativity scene.
Oh, the nativity scene and the angels and the snowmen and the Santa Claus and the sleds, they're all on public property, yeah.
Okay, so let's start with nativity scene. Show of hands, nativity scene, Finley River Park, it's lit up for Christmas drive. Perfectly fine, show your, or I guess you should say, constitutional, raise your hand. Raise your hand, unconstitutional. Okay, so we got a little bit of disagreement on that. A little bit of disagreement from Hunter as well.
Not sure yet.
So I'm not even gonna ask about angels, because I just think angels is close enough to being secular and such.
Yeah.
I would say.
What would be your parting thoughts on the subject? And thank you, by the way, for being such a great sport.
Oh, I asked you if I was gonna be in the hot seat, and you
Yeah.
said you weren't sure, but, yeah.
How's the seat feel? Pretty warm?
Good, yeah.
Okay, good.
Wish I had my coat on, but that's all right.
Any parting thoughts on the subject you'd like to share with us?
No, I really, I've pretty much spoken what I feel, and,
Anybody have any questions or thoughts on this subject for Rick Gardner, who again has been extremely gracious to answer literally every single one of our questions? Raven?
Do you think people would be more open to such things if they had equal representation of other religions in the area?
I just want to restate that, because that is a great question. Do you think people would be less, what was your phrasing?
If they had equal representation?
Would have less of a problem with it if they had more equal representation for the other, we'll say,
Because this
major
area is
religions?
very like Christian heavy and Catholic. and all
Yeah.
that.
you know, I guess that's one of the reasons that we agreed so readily to take it down, is that if we left it up, everybody else would have the right to do the same thing. And they would, and there would be nothing that we could do.
You don't want a Scientology Christmas display?
I didn't say I didn't, I told you I was a Christ follower.
I will go ahead and say that I don't want one. Ever.
How would you?
There's Scientology symbol or something. Wayne?
I was wondering if anybody knew of the situation down at Little Rock where there was a group trying to get a demonic statue on the courthouse property.
I heard about that a couple of years ago.
Do you have anything you'd like to share about a demonic statue on a what? An Arkansas courthouse?
Why? And what exactly is the statue? Because if it's just like a tiny little cute goat, you know, be like, cute goat.
But it's a demonic goat.
But it looks like a cute one.
Well, what was the argument? What were they based, do you know what they were basing it on? Was there a Christian symbol?
Because of like the 10 Commandments that are also on display in the
Okay, yeah, that's
courthouse.
the So there was a Christian symbol on display, so they're like, if that's on display, then we should be able to put up our, was it theoretical or were they really trying to?
No, they had an actual
They had an actual,
Ma'am?
So I looked up the statue.
Of
Of
the demonic statue?
Do you want to see?
I want to know.
Maybe later. I wish I could just put it up. Yeah. Parker?
About if other religions had equal representation from the government, that they would feel okay about a cross being erected on government property. I don't think that they would, because the organization that was complaining about the cross was called the Freedom From Religion, not the Freedom From Christianity. Like religion in general, they didn't want to see it on government property. So whether it was a cross or it was Star David or any religious symbol, I feel like they would have had to see.
Well, I think they would as long as it was temporary. Like where I'm from down in Florida, we have a park called Wickham Park that people do many different festivals, parades, and everything for every religion around the area.
Yeah, and I mean, there are
And nobody has ever complained about something.
Hold that thought just a moment. Sir?
My thing is, Christmas is a religious holiday to begin with. Even Santa is really St. Nicholas, Catholic saint. So
Rick?
I don't understand why one religious symbol is less offensive than another.
Well, Christmas is a religious holiday. Very clearly, it was the birth of Christ. That's why we thought we commemorated it. It's turned into a lot of other things that it was not meant to be, which is snowmen and Santa Claus and sleigh bells. But it is a Christmas holiday, and I think it's just turned into into more holiday than Christmas.
All
All right, so one of the things that hopefully we understand following from this is that we understand that a lot of these religious symbols are actually now protected on government land, not because of other religious symbols are also being presented, but because the judicial system does consider these religious things to have cultural significance for any variety of reasons. I mean, the 911 memorial is not that old, but it's seen to be a symbol of perseverance, which is secular. So something to keep under your hat perhaps as you go forward in life. And the next time one of your friends says, what about God we trust on our money? Now you'll have an answer for that because you'll hear it. Yeah, I do hear it all the time. And in addition to that, I hope another thing that seems clear, although this but this group of folks, you guys agree on a ton of stuff, but hopefully you understand that despite the fact that I think most of us probably agree separation between church and state is what we should be striving for, that how to draw that line between church and state is very difficult, and oftentimes it will take us 20 years to figure it out. Thank you so much for attending. The last thing I want to say real quick, this has been a presentation by Politically Active, which worked our freaking tails off to put this together. Thanks to Kara Griffin. Thanks to, in the back, Kylie Gillen, I'm sorry. And I want to thank all of you for being a part of our conversation. Thank you so much. Round of applause for our speakers.